I think the statistics pretty much speak for themselves. We've been hearing them through our speeches and the presentations that we heard so far. Since that Connect Africa session in 2007, the average internet penetration has only increased from an average of 3.9% to 16%. When we look at the numbers, that's significant. It's huge and could even be described as exponential. However, 16% leaves quite a gap that still needs to be met in terms of delivering the future today. So, Your Excellencies, our challenge is to find a way so that the majority of Africans can have access to the internet, that broadband becomes a common form in our continent, and so that we can transform the lives of our people. So my first question to all of you, and I'm just going to ask that you begin with your opening thoughts and your opening ideas about this challenge that we're facing. How quickly can we achieve this transformation? Should ICT even be given a priority, given the many challenges that we're already facing? So perhaps if I could ask you, Your Excellency, the President of Kenya, Mr. President Uhuru Kenyatta, if you could start by sharing your thoughts. How do we move this agenda forward, sir?
Thank you. Let me begin first by thanking our host, President Kagame, for hosting this particular conference, and also congratulating him for the tremendous progress that Rwanda has made over the years in terms of advancement in ICT. Let me then say that if we look back into the ages and look at the developed Western countries, the United States, Europe, and ask ourselves what drove their economies. It was the railway line. It was sea transport. It was air transport. These are still challenges that we on the African continent are still struggling to catch up on in order to connect our people, in order to have free flow of goods amongst ourselves on the African continent. But the true and single driver that will propel us from a developing to a developed world in the shortest possible time is for us to recognize that the railway lines, the sea lanes of yesterday is broadband today. Broadband gives us the ability to leapfrog and to catch up with the rest of the world. Broadband gives us the capacity to bring minds, innovation, and create opportunities for our people. There is great opportunity on the African continent. If you look at the world at large, you have an aging population. Innovation requires young minds, and Africa today is full of young minds craving and looking for opportunity, and broadband is one way of creating a vast new world for our young people and propelling Africa to prosperity. We in Kenya have latched onto this fact. And especially over the last 10 years, we have made tremendous progress. We still have a very long way to go, but we have made tremendous progress in terms of advancement in ICT, in laying our fiber network. We've made huge advances in mobile connectivity, huge advances also in new apps that have made financial inclusion much deeper than it ever was. I think we've moved over the last 10 years from something like 20% financial inclusion to something like 50%, just as a result of the use of ICT, M-Pesa, and other such applications that have been developed over the period of time. We are trying to move to see how we can get government services also being available online, with the understanding that one of the vices and one of the problems that we're faced with as a continent, as a nation, is corruption. Through the use of ICT, the challenges of corruption are greatly reduced because the interaction amongst people is removed. We are moving towards ensuring that we use ICT also for security. We have a great challenge, and we're trying to emulate our Rwandese brothers and sisters by introducing laptops for our children, because we want them to begin, right from their basic education, to know that ICT is one of the greatest tools that it doesn't know rich or poor, it doesn't know tribe, it doesn't know what country you belong to. It breaks all barriers. And if we bring up our children, right from the beginning and allow them to interact amongst themselves, we do have the capacity to actually make this continent integrate much faster and bring ourselves much closer together. I think, for me, the greatest challenge that we have is we have many competing interests. And sometimes we tend to relegate ICT to the back burner. As we say, we have challenges of health, road infrastructure, and other many challenges that we have. But I think by working together, I think by introducing new technologies, as I've just seen right now, that can help us reduce the cost, and understanding that this is not a luxury good, but actually an instrument for transformation. We can use ICT to deal even with some of those challenges that I'm mentioning, health, education, job creation, and our ability to prioritize it, and also to take advantage of those who have developed technologies that allow us to spread the infrastructure in a cost-effective manner. This is what we all need to work on and to focus on, and I believe going forward, ICT, and in fact, even when we had our own infrastructure summit yesterday, we all did agree, as we met with my older brothers from Rwanda, Uganda, and South Sudan, that ICT is going to be a key item on our agenda going forward, because we believe that this can really help us.
Okay. Mr. President, thank you very much indeed.
Transform our region. Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you very much indeed for your opening thoughts. If I could turn to you, Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Gabon, President Ali Bongo Ondimba, what are your opening thoughts on this very important conversation that we're having?
Thank you. First, I'd like to start by thanking our host, President Paul Kagame, and the people of the government of Rwanda, inviting us to once more be able to come and enjoy the hospitality of the Rwandan people. We also want to congratulate the President on the achievement of his country. We also want to recognize Mr. Secretary General Toure for organizing, this summit. We have many priorities in Africa, and it would be fair to say that now that recognize that ICT is probably the priority of priorities. Because, you know, the use of ICT can really make us make that jump into the 21st century. It makes information available and affordable to all of us, and it offers numerous opportunities. And among those opportunities, you have e-government, e-health, e-education. And I think the starting point should be education if we want to transform the lives of, you know, Africans. And that's why, from my point of view, the program of, you know, one laptop for children is very important, and it should be extended to all African countries, and then probably be one of the main objectives for the African Union. Of course, I'll have more to say about what we have done and what we're trying to do in Gabon. But very important things just for me to, if you allow me to say. For every 10% of penetration in broadband, it induces an increase of 1.2% in GDP, according to the World Bank. So you see the importance for us, you know, to really decide what our priorities should be. ICT, the use of ICT, also important for us to help switch from the informal sector to the formal sector, and increasing, excuse me, increasing incomes for African states. And also in ICT infrastructure, key to attract, you know, foreign direct investment that we all need. So basically, it comes down to, as Secretary Toure said, what are we doing here, leaders on this podium? It's important for us to dream and wake up and make that dream a reality, or else it becomes a nightmare. So rest assured, Mr. Toure, I sleep well and I dream well. In fact, my problem is that probably sometimes I wish my dream could, you know, go longer and then not wake up so fast. But we wake up with the resolution to implement. And we do have that vision. But to make it, we need your help. We need to be all together and recognize what is important for our continent. And that's the reason why, when my brother Paul invited me, I came. I came to listen to all of you. Because listening, sharing, you know, experiences is very important in what we want to do. We talk about accept, share, and see well, and then we're able to think, well, I've done this not so well. Maybe I could correct, or it didn't really reinforce for us the determination to move forward. And my determination is as strong and even stronger after listening to all of you. Thank you.
Your Excellency, thank you very much indeed for your opening thoughts. Perhaps we can turn to the Republic of Mali now and ask Your Excellency, President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, what your opening thoughts are about this journey that we must take.
Thank you very much. I won't deliver my speech in totally in English, because I'm not as fluent as my younger Ali. And but I just want to make something, tell my friend and brother Uhuru that also all minds could contribute. President Kagame, I would like to thank you very warmly for inviting me to attend this so important and so high-level meeting here in Kigali. That's by my very first coming out since I'm in charge of my country. Also, I would like to congratulate Secretary General Touré and tell him how I'm proud of him. But please, no longer make confusion between my friend and brother Uhuru and me. OK. Je voudrais ici dire tout le plaisir que j'ai de me trouver ici parmi cet aréopage mondial autour de cette question cruciale de communication. Venant d'un pays, je le dis sans aucune espèce de prétention, pays vaste, d'un problème de logistique, problème de communication, 703 communes à gérer, dans un système démocratique qui souhaite toujours aller de l'avant. Comment faire sans cet outil moderne? Et je me reprends à repenser à ce mot de Jean-Jacques Servan-Schreiber dans les années 70 qui disait de ne pas avoir le vertige devant tout le gap de développement auquel l'Afrique faisait face. Et que grâce aux microprocesseurs, nous rattraperions rapidement tout ce chemin-là. Comment ne pas le croire aujourd'hui quand on voit ce qui a été fait ici au Rwanda, qui est pour nous tous un espoir. L'espoir que quand la volonté politique est à l'œuvre, l'on peut déplacer les montagnes. Président Kagame, ce que l'on voit ici à Kigali, ce qui vient de nous être dit par notre frère Robert de la société, la SFI, est assez réjouissant. Ce que vous avez fait comme progrès dans Doing Business in Africa, Doing Business tout court, de 75e à 32e, prouve le bond fabuleux qui a été fait ici. Et je dois dire que dans un pays vaste comme le Mali, nous avons très vite compris l'importance de ces nouvelles technologies pour nous. Et pourquoi nous avons libéralisé le secteur de la communication au point qu'il y a 10 ans, même pas qu'il y avait 10% de connexion téléphonique, nous sommes aujourd'hui à près de 92%. C'est quand même un bond énorme. Et nous avons 2 opérateurs téléphoniques. Il y a une 3e licence qui est en débat. C'est vous dire notre engagement total à faire en sorte que nous soyons de cette nouvelle révolution qui, sans nul doute, a bouleversé et va encore bouleverser le visage du monde. Transformer le monde, transformer l'Afrique, bien sûr. Et le rêve, nous le faisons tous, mais éveillés, pas endormis. Et voilà ce que je voulais dire. Sans que ce soit une réponse à mon frère et ami Ali, parce qu'il l'a dit, nous rêvons, mais il s'agit bien de rêve et que cela ne soit jamais un cauchemar. Merci.
Your Excellency, thank you very much indeed for sharing your thoughts with us. And as you said, perhaps wisdom comes with time, and you certainly have a lot of wisdom that you're sharing with us today. Thank you very much indeed. And we look forward to hearing a little bit more from you. Now, Your Excellency, President Kagame, your brothers on stage have been pointing to you quite a lot in terms of successes so far and rolling out this ICT in the country. But I'm sure that even you, despite the achievements already, you still have a vision for your country and for your continent. Share your thoughts with us about what that vision might be.
Thank you. First of all, what comes to my mind relative to the subject of discussion today, I think we are talking about transformation and how ICTs, how broadband plays into that transformation, the role of ICTs, and therefore what we can do to enhance ICTs, broadband, in that transformation, and how transformation is also about people, and therefore we are saying how do we bring our citizens to participate and to benefit as well. That's where I want to start from. The second step is about saying, I think my fellow leaders here have already said very important things. And I wanted to say, they mentioned, for example, issue of many priorities that we have to attend to, and how that may create certain competition between these priorities, and maybe if we don't get it right from the start, we end up with some difficulties. So in answering the question or giving my views, I want to ask myself a question. In the case of Rwanda, where we have made some modest progress in this particular area of using ICTs for transformation, but also progress in a general sense, I want to ask myself, because some other people have come up with different questions or viewpoints of saying that maybe investing in ICTs, in broadband, in 4G, LTE, like we have seen, is a luxury. Maybe we shouldn't be doing that. We should be doing something else. Those questions have come up. And based on this, I asked myself the question that, okay, where would Rwanda be, or would Rwanda have been better off if we hadn't actually invested in ICTs? Is there something we have missed, or have we lost anything by actually doing that? You know, my answer to that and my discovery in the process of transformation is that actually ICTs have played a very important role, because ICTs being part of the infrastructure we have invested in has cut across in every sector and made its own mark and contribution, not only in that particular private sector, but also overall for the whole country. It's about employment, it's about wealth creation, it's about education, it's health, it's agriculture, it's in terms of provision of information based on which we are able to generate the kind of knowledge that is required to be able to make progress in every sector of our society. So the answer to that, even to myself, has been no. I think we've been better off with investing in the ICTs, as well as we have invested in other types of infrastructure and the general development of our people and the kind of capabilities we have also been investing in, than if we had continued with investments in other areas and not in this one. This is the answer to those who think that investing in infrastructure or broadband or infrastructure of ICTs is a luxury. It's not a luxury. It's actually a necessity, in my view. And again, the issue is, if I can't believe in the theories that speak to that, at least I want to believe what I'm able to see with my own eyes. So what I see, so what I'm able to see is that it has worked, and it has supported every other effort we have made in the different sectors. So investing in ICTs, investing in broadband, investing in 4G LTE is useful. In fact, that in Rwanda we have decided to look at ICT as a utility, like we look at water, like we have electricity, like so. Even we have encouraged our people. You have seen some high rises around town, and we say, when you are making provisions in your premises, you have pipes for water, you have cables for electricity, remember to put provisions for ICT as part of the utility that so far, I haven't seen anything to discourage me to keep the conversation going with our people, to continue with the effort and the investment. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Your Excellency, President Paul Kagame. Let's turn to our newest African nation, South Sudan, and President Salva Kiir Mayardit. You have many challenges on your plate at the moment, starting a new country. What are your thoughts on how ICT can play a role in that new beginning, as it were?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. And first of all, we'd like to thank our host, His Excellency, President Paul Kagame, for inviting all of us to attend this very important meeting. And of course, as you have said, we are the newest nation on the continent, 2 years old. And as the newest country, South Sudan's vision is to become an educated, prosperous, and a secure nation by 2040. Our country, even more than the rest of the continent, is limited by the lack of infrastructure and communication. This is a legacy of the two wars we fought to gain our freedom. Presently, we have 4 mobile phone operators in South Sudan, and we are struggling to launch the 5th one. So, with the 4 mobile phones, they reach less than half of the population of South Sudan because of the reasons that I have just mentioned. But our government and people will continue to struggle to avoid these slow and expensive satellite links for our internet communication. Most of our people have no reliable electricity. And so, for now, we have put the SSTV, and SSTV, I believe, can be accessed all over the globe. And we are working on how to improve or to promote the ICT. We have agreed with our brothers and sisters in Kenya to have a fiber optic connection from the Indian Ocean through Kenya to South Sudan. In South Sudan, we would want to develop a climate that is favorable to international investment. This will help us build the roads, power supplies, schools and hospitals. And this will take us to the transformation of agriculture, and that, of course, will create jobs for the youth. And by creating jobs, you change the life of the people. This is, a very rough road that we are driving on. And as it was said by His Excellency Kagame, we are not discouraged not to drive on it, because we know even if the child was to be born 2 years ago, that child will not be able to walk straight and to run as fast as you may need your son or your daughter to run. We are still too young to do all these things. The second thing is that easy access to information is going to be essential, and especially as South Sudanese are now seeing the importance of education after the war, and many children today have enrolled. It is time that they know the ICT, which was said to be the priority of the priorities, will go together with all these priorities. And these school children will have to access, to be given the laptops so that they grow with the ICT technology. It will also underpin all the work in the areas of democratic governance and poverty reduction. South Sudan is keen to explore all the new approaches which can help us deliver basic services to our citizens in the country. In this area, we look forward to our regional neighbors and so that we learn from them, because they have the experience which they have gained since their independence, and the technologies such as Ushahidi and M-Pesa, which are being used in Kenya, can still be easily adopted in South Sudan. And that can also help transform our way of life. But for this to happen, we need reliable electricity. And so that the population also can have access. We need a country which is schooled, population that is educated, so that they take the advantage of these possibilities. To resolve the issue of the electricity, we have started to develop our hydropower potentials at Fula Rapids near Nimule and Katre in the Imatong Mountains. These are within reach that we can do, and with the help from all our partners, this is achievable. So the issue of electricity to the people will not be in for long. We have also considerable potential to use solar power. And that one, we have sun, very hot sun in South Sudan, that if we have the solar, you cannot think of generators or whatever that you want, you will have enough power supply. Our problem is the human resource development. In the human resource development, our country lags behind, very far away, because of the reasons that I have mentioned before, the war. And our government will therefore have to make efforts to invest in both formal and alternative education and training, so that we are able to produce the trained people that we need. This is the situation in South Sudan, and we are confident that all these problems can be managed. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Let's turn to Burkina Faso, a country that has done pretty well with regional cooperation, in particular, setting out fiber optic connectivity with Ghana and Togo as partners, as well as ongoing infrastructure programs rolling out across the country. Your Excellency, perhaps you can share your thoughts with us about the future that you see for Burkina Faso and how ICT can play a role in that.
Merci. Je voudrais tout d'abord, bien sûr, remercier notre frère, le président Kagame, pour sa deuxième invitation qui m'est parvenue après celle de 2006, de 2007. Voilà. Alors, dans cette même salle, je crois qu'à l'occasion, nous avions bien sûr lancé une grande ambition, c'est-à-dire connecter l'Afrique, parce que nous y voyons un intérêt certain pour que l'Afrique ne reste plus en marge du monde. Parce que si nous avions par le passé été soumis à la colonisation, à l'esclavage, c'est bien parce que nous nous sommes détachés du monde, de la civilisation qui était celle de l'époque, une civilisation faite de progrès, parce que l'homme a quitté l'âge de la pierre taillée, allé à l'âge de la pierre polie, à l'âge des métaux, et continuer à l'énergie électrique, etc. Et l'Afrique, pendant longtemps, est restée à côté de cela. Alors, et je crois qu'aujourd'hui, nous avons ici même, dans cette salle, nous avons pris des engagements de faire en sorte que l'Afrique reste donc dans l'humanité, reste dans le monde. Et depuis, nous avons travaillé, nous avons réfléchi à travers le continent et nous sommes là à nouveau pour dire que le coup d'essai a été un coup de maître et qu'aujourd'hui, à travers, bien sûr, d'abord le Rwanda que nous avons pu visiter un peu, nous avons écouté, à travers aussi d'autres États du continent, nous avons vu des progrès remarquables qui montrent que nous pouvons rattraper nos grands retards à partir de la connectivité. Alors c'est pour cela que des pays comme le Burkina Faso, bien sûr, géographiquement bien placés, parce que nous sommes au centre de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, nous avons un grand intérêt pour nous-mêmes comme pour les voisins et pour notre progrès réel, véritable, d'aller vers cet outil très puissant qui peut, bien sûr, comme nous l'avons dit ici, nous aider à créer plus d'emplois, améliorer la vie, le quotidien des hommes et des femmes, renforcer les capacités d'apprentissage, de connaissance, du savoir. Et bien sûr, comme cela a été dit, les infrastructures restent pour nous une première préoccupation. C'est pour cela que nous avons l'électrification que nous, dans le cadre du programme d'Afrique de l'Ouest, que nous connectons notre pays avec l'ensemble des voisins. Mais nous sommes en train de créer un centre technopole où nous allons avoir l'atterrissage le point virtuel, nous allons avoir donc un technopole, nous allons avoir pour les opérateurs un espace comme centre de recherche, nous allons avoir à ce niveau un centre d'échange d'Internet pour nous permettre d'élargir encore les capacités que nous avons déjà pu obtenir ces dernières années. Alors, c'est dire donc que nous sommes dans le processus qui est engagé ici à Kigali depuis 2007, que nous poursuivons avec beaucoup d'enthousiasme parce que, comme vous le voyez, le leadership du président Kagame nous entraîne tous avec plus d'engagement, plus de volonté. Mais aussi c'est parce que sur le terrain, nous sentons que nous voyons des résultats. Voilà. Merci bien. Voilà.
Your Excellency, thank you very much indeed. Your Excellency, President of Burkina Faso, President Blaise Compaoré. Right, now, President Museveni, Your Excellency, Uganda is already a country that's moving quite quickly in terms of penetration, internet usage. And I wonder if you could share your thoughts with us about what happens next. What do you see the role of ICT playing in a country that's already enjoying quite a lot of penetration?
Your Excellency, President Kagame, Your Excellency, the heads of state and government who are here, electronics, including ICT, helps us to solve a number of issues. Automation of machines, storing and retrieving information, identifying persons quickly. This is because somebody's picture is taken beforehand and his fingerprints or her fingerprints are all stored in a central store. And when he commits a crime, you can quickly know who it was. Voting, we normally have problems of voting. In Uganda, we have got multiple voting. Somebody registers more than once because he wants to cheat. And you don't have is a way of knowing that using the human being, you know, just by looking at his face. The wage bill. Somebody says he has got 132,000 teachers, when in fact there are only 100,000. The other 30,000 are what we call ghost teachers. Defense. The countries which are advanced use electronics for making weapons to kill other people. And for us, we're just here running around with human muscle only. So there's no doubt that electronics and ICT. I was trying to find out from my scientists what is the difference between electronics and ICT. And somebody was telling me that ICT is electronics applied to information. That's what somebody told me. Maybe the scientists can clarify that. There is no doubt about the importance of electronics and ICT. However, in my language, this is what we call okunyata. Okunyata, what would you call it in Kinyarwanda? Okunyata means to eat food without sauce. How do they call it in Kinyarwanda? In Kinyarwanda, they call it okurumana. Okurumanga. Now, you know, Africans, we must always think for ourselves. Part of the problem has been copying here, copying there, and you find you end up with mistakes. I don't want us to only talk about ICT and forget the other sectors. Because if you do that, you're going to be in a problem. ICT must assist agriculture, because that is a fundamental sector. You cannot just sit in an office and you just communicate efficiently. You communicate rumors from... and you are using smartphones to do that. And you don't grow ibijumba. Ibijumba are sweet potatoes in Kinyarwanda. What are you communicating about? Just rumors. Yes, because you can communicate rumors. Oh, so and so has got nice hair for the ladies. In the end, you need ibijumba to eat. So this ICT must help agriculture. That's a fundamental sector. The second fundamental sector is industry, factories, machines. How will electronics and this stored information help to make efficient the manufacturing? The third sector is services. Services, hotels, transport, and all that. How will electronics help services? The fourth sector is actually ICT itself. ICT is not only a facilitator, but it is a sector in itself. Why? Because in Uganda and in a number of other countries, the young people are now using ICT to do what they call outsourcing of jobs. Somebody can sit here in Kigali, he's an accountant, and does the bookkeeping for a company in the United States and send the work over the internet. And in the following morning, the work is in the US and they pay him. So ICT is not only a facilitator, but these days when I'm talking to Ugandans, I put it as sector number 4. For me, sector number 1 is agriculture. Number 2, industry. Number 3, services. Number 4, ICT, not only as a facilitator, but as a sector by itself. This is how I am handling it in Uganda, especially when I'm talking to the young people about employment. Now, the 5th sector is public service. Public service, I think that's what you were talking about, this e-learning and all that. This is part of the public service, the government, to run the government. So, if you avoid Okunyata, Ukurumangan, ICT will be very useful. But if we also go off and say ICT, we forget agriculture, we forget manufacturing, we forget, I think we may be in another problem. Because a few years ago, I was hearing these Europeans, they were saying they no longer needed the manufacturing, that Europe was now post-industrial. That's what they were calling themselves. That they were now in services, only services, financial services, and speculating with money and running up and down. Now, the last I heard about the Europeans, that they were in a very bad situation. Now, I don't want us to be in that mistake, to just become unidimensional. ICT, and then you forget all these other sectors. It must be integrated. We must, but it's very, very efficient. Of course, it makes things much faster. We who are in the army also know this from the army side. You no longer need to do all the calculations using tables and all that. You can just get quick results. So there's no doubt. But it needs to be integrated with the whole economy, not just be talked about as if it can stand alone without the rest of the economy. I thank you very much.
Your Excellency, on behalf of everybody here, we thank you very much indeed. As always, very entertaining, but at the same time, very important messages that you share with us. And I think it's no rumor that you are making ICT work in your country, and that it must be applied to help and build our countries and our people's lives. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for your thoughts.
Well, I didn't give what we are doing in Uganda. About the ICT, the little connection we have done, the broadband we have put it in 22 towns out of so many towns. Out of we have only put it in 22 towns out of 112. The backbone and the persons who are using smartphones are now 6 million. This is just only 20% of the population. They are the ones accessing the internet. So we are still far away. But the little we have done, and we have also linked with the undersea cable in Mombasa, the immediate result has been to make telephone calls very much cheaper than they used to be by linking with the sea cable. Because in the past, we were making international calls through satellite link. And that was very expensive. They say about 5 times more expensive or something like that. So we are moving, but please, we shouldn't kurumanga ICT. It needs to go with all the other foods. Like last night, you remember we had dessert and we had, this man was very efficient in telling us the soup is coming. So we had a balanced meal last night. So let us please have a balanced plan. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. President.